If you're thinking of moving to Florida and you're worried about some of the creatures that we have, I mean, we're not Australia, but we do have some stuff that you can worry about. I'm going to tell you which ones to worry about, which ones you don't really need to worry about, and hopefully that'll give you a little bit better idea of what you need to do when you get down here and maybe make a purchase of home. So let's get started. All right, so let's talk about snakes first. Everybody hates snakes. I love that. Everybody's terrified of snakes. We have a whole ton of different snakes that you can be scared of. We have eastern diamondback rattlesnake. We have pygmy rattlers. We have moccasin, or what they call water moccasins. We have coral snakes. Those are the ones that have the different colors of red, yellow, and orange. And their mouths are so small that you would have to really do something to them to get bit and get sick from them. Eastern diamondback tend to be a little bit more out in the woods around water. You're going to find cottonmouths or water moccasins. Pygmy rattlers are, again, more out in the woods. You don't see them in built-up neighborhoods or built-up areas. Those are the main snakes that we have to deal with that are poisonous. Now, we have others like rat snakes, and we have black snakes, black racers, stuff like that. They're great, and if you have them around your house, keep them. Don't get rid of them because they will eat bugs and mice and anything else that tries to come around. All right, so we have those things, all right? And I know that everybody worries about alligators, okay? Alligators, every time somebody talks to me about moving from up north to Florida, the first thing they ask is, what about alligators? So let's remember that alligators don't want anything from us any more than they want anything from anybody else that they're not going to eat. The problem with alligators is twofold. Number one, as we continue to build up into the areas that they live in, we tend to encounter them more. Number two, when you move into a community, especially a community where there's water, maybe on a lake or whatever, and you see somebody feeding that alligator, that is a terrible thing to do. Because now that animal doesn't know when the food stops and the hand starts, okay? So if you're out there feeding wildlife, all you're doing is making it harder for the next person, because now that alligator or those raccoons or the wild hogs that we have, they're going to be coming back looking for food, and when that person doesn't have any food, then they're going to get in trouble, and sometimes people have gotten killed. A young man not too long ago had his arm ripped off. A young girl just recently, she got drugged down by an alligator by her thigh. And she was beating on that alligator as she was going down. He let go, he bit her again. And she continued to beat on him and fight until he finally left. But she's in the hospital now with a number of bites on her legs, and she's had a traumatic experience, and it's not necessary. So don't feed any wild critters, okay? The next up is mold. A lot of people don't understand that there are different types of mold here in Florida. You have black mold, but some of that black mold is benign. Other forms of the black mold can actually cause respiratory problems. It can cause you to get sick, not be able to breathe, and have to go to the hospital. We have orange mold. My understanding is the orange mold it's more benign than it is deadly. It's the black mold that causes most of the problems. And so if you're worried about something like that when you're looking at a house, make sure your inspector knows that you want to look for mold and make sure that there's nothing going on. And if you're really worried about it, there are people that do remediation that can come in and just look for mold for you. So that's one of the other things you've got to deal with. Now, we do have wild hogs, and there have been instances where people have moved into a suburban neighborhood and then had their lawn decimated by hogs that were kind of roaming around. Bear in mind, hogs do not settle in one spot. They tend to be very nomadic. They tend to move around. And so they may hit your yard, and then you may never see them again. And it kind of depends on where you end up purchasing. The closer you are to being out in the country or being in a very large patch of woods, let's say the Green Swamp on the very north side of Polk County, you're going to find a lot of wild hogs that are going to come around. They may not hit your property, but they'll probably hit someplace around you, and they're just going to root and they're going to dig in, and they're going to get little tubers and roots and whatever else, bugs, whatever they can find, and then they're going to take off. But what people don't understand is that wild hogs will kill to eat. They've been known to kill small animals like dogs or cats. They've been known to kill small farm animals like baby sheep, other baby pigs, and even calves. And so that's something that, you're probably never going to have to deal with, but it's out there. And it's the same thing with the alligators. You're probably never going to have to deal with an alligator, but, they're still there, and you want to be cautious. Now, the next one is a little weird, these next two really. Florida panthers are in Florida. They are a species of panther that's sort of like the cougar up north, or actually out west. But they're very limited in their range, and they're very shy and retiring. They usually kind of move around at night. You never see them. You basically, unless you're out in the woods, you're never going to see them. Now, when it comes to black bears, black bear have been known to go from the woods into suburban neighborhood. We had a situation not too long ago here I think it was in Wesley Chapel, where a black bear came in to a little community, and he climbed up to the top of a power pole and shocked himself, and then hung there for a little bit, and everybody tried to get him down. He finally fell. They had to sedate him, and then they had to take him, the FWC, the Florida Wildlife Commission, had to take him and, move him someplace else. But black bears are here. So are coyotes. Coyotes are throughout the whole state. They're very retiring, very shy. They run in packs, and you may hear that howling one night in your neighborhood, but unless you're outside where they're at, walking your dog, or unless you have an outdoor cat, you may never even see them. You may see the evidence of them, like trash cans being overturned and them eating out of the trash, spreading stuff everywhere. That's kind of what they do. I don't think we've ever heard of a person being gone after or being bitten by a coyote, but we have seen situations where, like one woman was walking down the neighborhood with her dog, and it was a little dog, and a coyote came and just snatched it right off the leash and took off with it. That can happen. It doesn't happen often. So it's not something you really have to worry about, but it's there. All right, I'm looking at my notes. Now, the bugs. Everybody hates bugs, so we're going to start with that again. Aside from the regular black ants, which we call sugar ants, we have red ants. And red ants are bad. We call them fire ants because when they bite you and they sting you, you can feel it. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And the worst part about them is they will, if let's say, for example, you aren't paying attention to where you're standing in your yard, and you're standing either very close to a mound or in the mound, like you've put your foot in the mound, they will tend to kind of come up along your foot. You won't even know that they're there. But whichever ant is the one that's the most in charge is going to give a signal to the other ones, and all of them are going to bite. And that's when you start to run the risk of, basically, if you have problems with stuff like this, or if there's too many bites, you can go into anaphylactic shock. Even people that don't normally have a big issue with bugs or with ants, and being ant bit doesn't really bother them that much, if there's enough of them on you, it can really damage you. It can really, it can turn your world around, let me tell you. Now, as far as ants go, we also have carpenter ants. Carpenter ants love wood. And so this is a situation where they'll get into your house if there's any openings. They'll crawl into your house, and they'll start making nests up in the crawl space or in the walls, and they'll start eating the wood that, like, let's say, for example, the wood that you attach the sheetrock to. They'll get in there and eat that, or they'll eat the wood in the rafters. You just have to be sure that you know what you're looking for. Carpenter ants are much larger than red ants, and they don't really bite people. It's just not their thing, because we don't taste like trees. But, they have been known to make mounds in homes and people not even know it. And that actually happened to us with a house we owned a long time ago. We were in the middle of a hurricane. We found out that there was a leak in the roof, and all of a sudden the roof caved in from the water leaking. And my son happened to be laying on the couch. Our power was out. We were just praying that the hurricane would, be done. and go away from us so that we get the power back on. But all of a sudden, a nest of these things just kind of like dropped on him. Scared the snot out of my son. He was probably 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in there. Absolutely scared the snot out of him. But aside from that, they just really go after wood. He never got a bite on him from any of those. And there was probably a good 100 or so. And we spent the rest of the evening just trying to clean up that mess and take care of all the carpenter ants. So they're not the biggest deal. When it comes to the other ones, we have black widow spiders, and we have brown recluse spiders. Black widow spiders tend to not be as big an issue because for all of the bad press that they get, most people can survive a black widow bite. Not a big deal. Brown recluse is a much bigger deal because the venom that they use actually, like, how can I put this? It almost melts skin, melts the area where that venom hits. And it could be a big problem for you. So you just have to know what those species look like. You can look them up on Google, or you can use one of the local AIs like ChatGPT or one of those to do a little research and understand what some of these critters do and what they don't do. But that's another thing you have to look at as far as critters in the state of Florida, especially in Central Florida. Now, if you're looking down south, okay, down south, some things happened over the past 30 or so years. We had a giant hurricane that came through down south, Hurricane Andrew. And there was a reptile farm, and they thought that they had everything locked up tight, but they didn't. The hurricane leveled the building. All of the snakes got loose, or at least most of them did. And now down in the glades, we have giant anacondas and boa constrictors, sometimes 16, 15, 14, whatever feet long. They're huge. And along with that, we have iguanas everywhere. And so down in South Florida, you have a lot of non-native species that have taken root. Everything from peacock bass to pythons to, pretty much whatever has been brought into the state from out of state, like the iguanas. And we have people out there hunting the iguanas now and swearing that they taste like chicken. Not me. I haven't figured that out yet. All right. So that's kind of a rundown on the critters that are out there. So which ones should you be the most worried about? I would probably say you would want to be the most alert when you're near water for two things. Number one, alligators. Number two, moccasins. Moccasins will sometimes make a nest in the water or close to the water, and then you end up with a whole brood of snakes coming after you, which is not cool. Alligators, again, are going to be in the water. A lot of times you'll only just see the top of their head, but then they'll submerge. If they're submerged, they can still see what you're doing on the shore. So if you've got your dog on a leash and you're walking around and they kind of look at them as a snack because everybody's been feeding them on the lake, then you're going to have problems. The best thing you can do when it comes to alligators is be observant. Know what to look for. And, there's tons of videos out there that'll teach you that. That's not the scope of this video. But those two critters, as close to water as you can get, are troublemakers. Now, if you do find an alligator and you are on a lake, let's say, for example, you bought a home on a lake, you can call the FWC and they'll have somebody come over, a trapper, and they'll get rid of the gator for you. The moccasins, you can do the same thing. But you're also better off knowing what to look for and staying away. That's pretty much that. Now, when it comes to the coyotes, black bear, and panthers, you really don't have a whole lot to worry about with that. You don't really see them. Wild hogs don't present a threat to humans at this point. They present more of a threat to your landscaping because they can tear through some beautiful grass like St. Augustine grass. They can tear through St. Augustine in an evening and decimate a whole front yard. And so when you spot a wild hog, you're going to want to call FWC and have somebody come and trap them because they can cause problems. Those are the biggest things. The snakes, in most built-up areas, you're not going to see water moccasins. You're not going to see rattlesnakes or pygmy rattlers. You're not going to see any of that stuff. Because for the most part, in a built-up area, they've moved out, okay? And for the most part, you're not going to see black bear or panthers either, because panthers are so shy and retiring. The one thing about black bear, like any other bear, if you spot one walking around in your neighborhood, which, like I said, doesn't normally happen, but if you spot one walking around in your neighborhood and it's got cubs, stay away. Stay away. And the worst thing about black bear, as opposed to the brown bear out in Montana and out in the West, brown bear will grab you and bite you and leave you alone. Now, that in itself might kill you. I don't know. But black bear will continue to attack you viciously, and no matter, whether you play dead or whatever the case may be, they'll continue to go after you. So you have to kind of fight them off. You really have to fight them off. But the best thing to do is just not be around them. And if you see one, back away slowly. If they see you, make some noise, bring your arms out, let them know that you're human, let them know that you're not prey, and just walk away. Don't turn your back, but back away until you can get something else in front of you between yourself and the bear, let's just say. So those are the things that I really kind of want people to understand. We have so many different critters here, and we still haven't even talked about hornets and wasps, which we do have, yellow jackets, which we do have. There's a lot of stuff out here, but for the most part, you'll never run into them. And I think that's the beauty of living here. If you're in a decent neighborhood, you're not going to really notice any of these things. And if you live out in the country, you probably will, but if you live out in the country, you're probably going to want to notice those things because that's why you're there. You want to be able to see nature. The main thing is not to disturb nature and not to do anything that would make nature think that you're prey or that you're food. Okay? Like, subscribe, all that good junk. And if you're looking for a place to move to and you'd like some help, just go to talkwithvince.com and set up a meeting on my calendar, and we'll discuss it. We'll take 45 minutes or an hour and just kind of walk you through everything that you need. And if you have other questions about what we just covered today, put them in the comments. Anyways, all my information is in the description below, and you just saw Talk with Vince by underneath you saw it. Anyways, have a great one.